God damn, I need IPA.
This is Beering Ain't Easy, your podcast for beer humor, dad humor, and beer tastings from Texas and beyond. So crack one if you got one and turn it up.
Welcome to Beering Ain't Easy, Season 3, Episode 3, with Ryan and Drew.
All right. You've asked for it. You've heard us talk about it. You've rolled your eyes about it. Of course, Ryan, we are talking about the macro beer blind tasting experiment. Are you ready for that today?
I'm so ready. Happy Left Below Lil Snack season, Drew. Let's kick it off by drinking a whole bunch of domestics.
We will, for the listeners, we will drink a lot of craft beer as penance after this episode, but it's been one that's been on our short list for a long time. So there's no time like the present.
I guess so. We're starting season 3 off with just getting all our gimmicky episodes out of the way.
Have we ever stopped gimmicky episodes? I ask you.
That's a good point.
Let's introduce the lineup. What are we drinking, Ryan?
Well, I suppose I'll start with the classic Bud Light.
All of our beers today are in a can because that's fair. So we got the classics. Also, Miller Lite to go with that Bud Light.
And to cap off the big three, Coors Light.
My Rockies are blue over here. I don't know about yours.
Yes, sir.
And what used to be the hipster beer, which I'd like to talk about to see if it's still a hipster beer, which is the Pabst Blue Ribbon. And do you want to introduce our mystery guest here?
We got it. Troy Aikman's 8 beer. The Elite Light Lager.
So I got a question for you. I think you bought this one. You bought yours at Total Wine like I did, right?
Yeah, it's the most expensive beer I've ever bought.
Really?
I got a speeding ticket on the way there to get it.
Oh, hey-o. Oh yeah. I was about to say, mine was only like $10.
My first speeding ticket in 20 years. First one since I was 17, Drew.
Wow.
I'm very upset about it.
Were you that excited to get Troy Aikman's beer?
Yeah, I couldn't wait.
So my question, if you were in Total Wine, where was your 8 beer sold? Was it sold with the Miller Lights and Bud Lights? Was it in the craft beer section? Where was it?
It was. They only had it in 12 packs, so I had to buy a full 12 pack of it, and it was in the room temperature storage, stacked up right next to Bud Heavy.
Okay,
on the end of the domestics. Where was yours?
That seems like a good place for it. So that's where I went and looked, and I could not find it. And I was walking all around Total Wine, and then it was actually tucked away in the Texas craft beer section. And I was like, a little questionable, but that's how it was.
So I was looking at the can before we started recording, and it's got a little graphic of Texas with the cowboy star over Dallas, and it says born and raised. So it's like, okay, yeah, it's a Texas beer. Brewed and packaged by 8 Brewing in Verona, Wisconsin. You're going to say born and raised and show the picture of Texas and then say it was brewed in Verona, Wisconsin?
So the other thing that's weird about this is when I looked it up, there was an article where someone went and drank this beer at Troy Aikman's house, and he was trying to sell him the beer, just like I was telling you, he was trying to sell his beer to the Chamber of Commerce in Houston. The story that they were giving on there, the people brewing the beer is owned by Faubourg Brewing, which is New Orleans. Phil Leinert of Anheuser Busch, Harpoon, and Amagang was the one brewing it. And they created it with Oregon State Food Science Department. But apparently they're brewing it in Wisconsin. So what the fuck part of this beer is Texas, other than their headquarters being in Austin? I don't understand. But
apparently Troy Aikman's the new Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah. I do like the fact, so that brewery in New Orleans that I mentioned, that you can kind of like start connecting the dots. That brewery is owned by Gail Benson, who also owns the New Orleans Saints and the New Orleans Pelicans. So there's a tie into football here.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, he's all about jumping in with a football legend.
So since this is the least known of the beers we got, it's sold as craft beer. Like that's how they describe themselves. It's sold as a beer that's for people that like to exercise. It's, fresh hops, supposed to be healthier. It's got 90 calories, 2.6 carbs. Is that going to be vastly different than the caloric intake of the other beers we're having? Is it going to be noticeable enough? What do you think? I mean, most of these other ones are like 110 calories. Like they're not that far off.
Yeah, I was like trying to look at them real quick to see if they actually like put it on there, but I don't think they do. I doubt there's going to be. I got to be honest, Drew. I'm not expecting to get any of these. I'm expecting to go 0 for 5.
Well, Ryan, I actually looked at the ABVs on all of these, the calories on all of these. Most of them are pretty damn close. So, one of them, Coors is 102 calories, Bud's 110, PBR is 110, and Miller's 96. So that puts 8 beer is the slim one out of the group, but only by 6 calories. So I think it's fair to lump it in with American lagers here. I think that's kind of what I was getting at. I don't think we're venturing too far off in the weeds here.
Yeah, I mean, it calls itself a light lager, so I mean, that's exactly what we're dealing with here. Actually, I guess advertising works on me because I remember there was a Miller Lite commercial where the dude was like giving the guy shit about getting like Mick Ultra or whatever. It must not have been Mick Ultra. It was something, but yeah, it's like Miller Lite's only got 6 more calories per beer or something, and like made the guy go change it out.
Nice.
Good story, huh?
Yeah. That's why I kind of like brush you off with the nice. So I'm like,
yeah, nice.
Yes, but yeah. Yes, and that's what I'm supposed to say.
So Drew, before we get into that, actually, let's start getting to this. We can start sipping our we did a blind tasting. I guess we should clarify that we're doing a blind tasting. We're going to see if we can like guess any of these correctly, which leads me into my question to you, Drew. What's your history with these beers?
It's a good question. I didn't include my like near and dear, true to my heart beer in college, which was Keystone Light, which was kind of like the dumpster fire of American lagers. So these beers won't touch the refined taste that is Keystone Light, I'm sure. But as I grew older and actually could afford a little bit more on the beer, I kind of, I'll drink a Bud Light from time to time, but I gravitated more towards the Millers. PBRs I never got into. That's probably the one out of the, I can interchange Bud, Miller, and Coors anytime. And PBR, maybe I've had like 1 or 2 in my life. Like I've never been on the PBR train. How about you?
Yeah, same. I've never been on the PBR train. My roommate in college that I lived with for 2 years, his family owned a Budweiser distributorship, like a distribution company. So every time they came up, they would bring like just stacks of cases that were like I assume they were like out of date or something. I don't know. But we would always have just like 10 cases of it around, like sitting in like our laundry room. So I mostly drank Bud Light in college. But then after college, when we moved to Houston, I pretty quickly transitioned to Miller Lite because that's what most of our friends just drank, and we kept that around. Never really was a Coors Light guy. And yeah, never did PBR. So
on the PBR topic, why did it become a hipster beer? Does the word hipster still exist? And is it still a hipster beer? That's a lot of questions you have to answer for me, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, the term hipster still exists as one of my favorite IPAs, 11 Below's hipster sauce. That's all I need it for. I mean, as you know, Drew, I have a 9-month-old now and a 4.5-year-old. I don't have time to keep up with what the cool kids are saying these days. I'm full on dad now.
But like, it seemed like it there for a while there, a lot of bars were doing like Thursday night, you could get like $1 PBRs. And then I'm thinking that's where it became popular. Is that how you remember it?
Yes. Yeah.
Because it kind of came out of nowhere and all of a sudden it's a cheap beer.
You jarred a memory loose for me. In college, for Monday Night Football at the Popular Sports Bar in Stillwater, they used to do, it was like $5, like all you can eat chili dogs and $5 pitchers of Coors Light, like during Monday Night Football. So every once in a while we would go to that. and drink Coors Light. That's like the only time I ever drink Coors Light.
True story.
I got to be honest, Drew. These all taste exactly the same to me.
There's one that tastes just different than the others, and so I don't know if I'm starting to think that's 8 beer or if it's in my head. But there's a couple of them where I'm just like, these all taste like the same. But
I just got one that's different for sure.
oh yeah, I think I know what that one is. I'm feeling confident, Ryan. I'm feeling confident. I'm going to get at least one right.
I mean, just starting visually, Drew, I noticed that one of them looks a little bit different than all the other ones. It's a little bit darker. Like they're all like really like light pale, and one of them's kind of more almost orange. Are you noticing the same thing?
I have bad lighting in here, so they all look the same to me. But
There you go.
and I've got glassware that's kind of hazed, so
Okay. Yeah,
I don't have a good light here.
I was wondering if I was seeing this, so I took a couple pieces of white paper and stuck them directly behind all my glasses. So it's not so noticeable that you're like, oh my God, that one's different. But when I like put them all directly behind that, in front of the white paper, I was like, yes, this is definitely a little bit more orange. So, and that actually happens to be one of the two that taste different. I've identified two that taste different than the other three. The other three are just like, they taste completely the same to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, where are you at right now?
I guess like the question I have is like, who would you expect to win out of this matchup here? Like as the one that you think is the best? Like, do you think they're all going to be about the same? There's not going to be one that stood out, or when you looked at those cans coming in, you're like, yeah, this one's going to be the one.
It's a good question. I hadn't actually thought about it. I guess I would have hoped that PBR would have been the best, and I would have thought 8 would have been the worst. I would have thought it'd be just like a super gimmicky, just like money grab type thing. But when you read the credentials of some of the people involved with this, I'm wondering if maybe it should be the best. What do you think?
I mean, it's a food science department, and it's a experienced head brewer. So like, I don't know. Like when I started reading that, I'm like, should this be craft beer? Are we going to say does it blow everyone out of the water? Or is it a complete flop? And then, I think if it's a complete flop after hearing those credentials, then Troy Aikman just needs to stick to football. What do you think? Is that the stakes we're fighting for here?
We need to make some kind of deal here. You've been out of the meme game for a while. There needs to be some kind of meme at stake here, depending on how he does in this competition.
Oh my God, I could go on I could go on like a Troy Aikman meme tear. I would love it.
We'll have to think more on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously Troy Aikman, legend for the Dallas Cowboys. Speaking of Dallas beer, you were up there. Where'd you go? What'd you hit up? How was it?
Oh man, this was great. So I got to go hang out with some high school buddies that the last time the 5 of us were together was at a wedding in like 2012. So this was a much overdue guys trip. We all met in Dallas. We were supposed to stay at my buddy's house, but his kids got sick. So we, on a whim, rented an Airbnb, which this is more information you probably asked for, Ryan. But 5 40-year-old dudes just walk up to this Airbnb, which happens to be a guest house on someone's property. And they were like eyeing us the whole time in there, like trying to figure out, are we going to be throwing some sort of party over there? And then they saw us all like grabbing our lower backs and, showing up in business casual clothing coming out of work. And they didn't worry about us after that.
Yeah, I feel you, Drew. I did that Louisville trip last year for friend of the show, Wes's 40th birthday. So yeah, it was a house full of dudes that we'd roll out and just like, yeah, we don't have it like we used to, I guess. I'll say that.
If we ever had it at all. Back to your original beer question. So we went to Oak Highlands Brewing, which I enjoyed it. I thought the beer was good there. I'm always like, me, I'll look at Untapped and stuff like that. And sometimes you look at a place and you see the beer ratings, you're like, I don't know what to expect. But dude, they had a Kolsch in there that I was really digging. So I thought that was a good one. I've got to apologize to the listeners because I've talked a lot of shit about Dallas on this podcast. But we also stopped at Vector Brewing per Ryan's recommendation and got some to-go beers there. Like their pizza just smelled amazing. We didn't eat there, but I am like a believer of that brewery. Like they knocked it out of the park on like a couple different styles. So that is definitely a place I would recommend to folks in the Dallas area. So apologize to our, whatever Dallas listeners are still left on our podcast because it was pretty badass.
Yeah, they do special pizzas there every week that apparently are really good. This, speaking of friend of the show, Wes, he lives right by Vector, so that's why I knew about it, and I've been there with him, and he goes up there all the time. So it's good stuff. I like it.
I've got my beers lined up in order of my preference and in order of what I think they are. But before then, I've got a little more beer trivia so you can get your act together over there. Which of these beers is the oldest? Which one has been around the longest?
I would say Budweiser, the brand, but I don't know when Bud Light came around.
Yeah, I looked at specifically the beer recipe.
I imagine. Okay, here's my rationale for this. If I remember my history correctly, I think light beers came around when they were trying to cut ingredient costs during the Depression, something like that. So if I rule out all the light beers, and obviously 8's not it leaves me at Pabst Blue Ribbon. So I'm going with Pabst Blue Ribbon.
And you would be correct, Ryan. Nice choice.
Boom.
Apparently that beer has been around since 1844, which is pretty insane. It was originally called Best Select, and it was also called Pabst Select at some point in time, but it's essentially the same according to the interwebs. So, and the next soonest on the list was Miller at 1975. Like the Miller Lite brand came in 1975, which is a pretty big jump. So, and Bud Light was on the year of my birth, 1982, and Coors was 78. So, like Bud Light came after Miller Lite and Coors Light. I did not know that.
So my rationale was completely wrong, but it still led me to the right answer.
Led to the right answer. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then obviously eight beer is just ready for either a colossal flop or a rise to prominence. There's one that tastes a lot different, and it makes me think it's 8 beer.
I agree. And the one that I think tastes different than the rest is the one that's also a shade darker. And so I'm starting to like really look at that one and be like, yeah, you're that 8th man out.
Yeah. Oh, well played, sir.
I need to judge this not thinking that that's what that is. I need to judge them completely. I don't want to be like, I think that's the 8. I'm ranking that last. You know what I mean? Although I think it might be my least favorite one.
Really? This is going to be an interesting challenge.
I mean, like honestly, we're going to lose some listeners for me saying this, but like none of them are like bad. They're all fun.
I mean, it's a beer style that's like the reason why so many people drink this beer style is because it's unoffensive. There's nothing like super great about it. There's nothing super bad about it. It's just, it is what it is. It's a table beer. So, I mean, you can't really go wrong with any of them, but I'm still not going to rate them higher than like 2.75 on Untappd.
5 stars all day, baby.
Oh yeah. You're 5-star Bud Light, man. So before we do the grand reveal, I know you're on Instagram as well as my crazy Instagram ass over here. Have you seen the account Salt and Oak Brewery?
I didn't know there was a special account, but I know the whole story about it, the backstory behind it.
Oh my God. Anybody that's on Instagram, you got to follow them because it's an AI generated brewery that's just like ridiculous. They tackle the hard issues like kids at breweries, dogs at breweries, yoga at breweries, like anything you can imagine. They've tackled it in an amazing fashion.
I was going to say it was started by Hayes Boys, who's like, I know your like favorite account on Instagram. So he posts so much stuff about it, so I know the whole thing. I have a confession since we last recorded.
Okay. You have to lay it on me.
I went and saw Nickelback at the rodeo.
Oh my God. I read a Houston Chronicle article about it. Tell me what your thoughts were. I need to hear your thoughts.
It was so much better than I thought, which is kind of funny because like after you get past some of their like the cheesy pop rock songs that
Photograph.
were super popular,
If you eliminate Photograph, it's not that bad.
it's actually like a lot heavier rock than I remembered. Like a lot of it sounded like, I'm not comparing them to Metallica, but it was like that kind of sound, that heavy kind of.
Oh yeah,
that kind of thing.
Never Again. I was a Nickelback fan in college, man. So I'm a closet Nickelback fan. Nickelback. I was a closet Nickelback fan, but then when they did that Photograph song, I was like, "Fuck these guys, I'm done." The song's terrible.
Yeah, but no, clearly they're like geared towards arena shows. Their music plays super well in an arena, and they've been doing arena shows for 20 or 25 years, and so they're really freaking good at it. So it was really fun.
Weren't they the highest gross? Maybe not like the highest, but maybe the second highest sales for the rodeo. I know when they announced Drake with Bun B, that became a big deal, but that was on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think they were only behind the Tejano Music Band.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I read this whole Houston Chronicle article about how many people showed up to that concert, how many people said it was a great show, and how maybe making fun of Nickelback was something that everyone really got into is a pile on, but maybe wasn't validated. I may have seen them in like 2002. So, and they did put on a show. My roommate in college tried to crowd surf in a Nickelback concert, and no one held him up, and he fell hit the ground. He definitely clipped his head on the ground. I was like, damn. Yes. Saw him go up and down, and I was like, nope, that's not for me. Good times. Can we scrub the whole part of the podcast where I was saying that I like Nickelback? It's not cool.
You're the editor, man.
I've drained every single one of my samplers in front of me, so I feel like we got to put the announcements out there so I can start drinking some of the cans.
Okay. So, but before we do our rankings and our reveal, I think you gotta cue up the X-Files sound clip for the background of what I'm about to say here.
Okay, got it.
Because I have rumors, unsubstantiated rumors that we need to talk about.
That's what I'm here for.
All right, so I heard this from somebody that vaguely knows somebody who apparently maybe knows some people.
Yes, that sounds like a really good source.
These are the rumors that I thrive on. All right. Well, I'll start with some things that are true before we go into the rumors, okay? And I'll try to be very clear about when it goes from facts into, fiction-ish. So, obviously, Fortress bought B-52, right? So they own both of those facilities, and they haven't apparently. This is still fact, but I'm still giving a little bit of a caveat. Apparently, they haven't actually brewed at the Fortress facility in quite a while. They do all their brewing at B-52. And at the tap room, they've been very inconsistent with having the Fortress beers on tap. Stuff that used to be their like flagship staples that were always on are like in and out now a lot. It says there's not like a whole lot. So now we transition to the rumors. The rumor is that Fortress is going to leave that facility and move all under one roof at B-52. Whether they keep both brands or just consolidate into B-52 wasn't part of this rumor, so I don't know. But if you're going to be under one roof, I don't know why you'd have two brands. Just go to one. So we're going to roll with that. We're going to say they're just going to become B-52. And then now we start rumorception.
Ooh.
There's another part of this rumor.
Before you get into the rumor, I've just got to say, if I was going to choose between two locations, Fortress or B52, I'm going to pick B52 because it's like a freaking forest up there. But I did swear them off on my one visit that I was never going to go back again because they closed earlier than their website said, and I just couldn't come to terms with that. But hopefully, new ownership will fix that problem. So go on with your unsubstantiated rumors.
Yeah. The other rumor, and this is the bigger rumor because that one's like kind of whatever. The other part of this rumor from this same source was that 11 Below's lease was up at their current location, but they were leaving that location and that they were going to take over Fortress's tap room and move their location there.
Ooh, I like that because I've never really been super impressed with like the 11 Below's like setup up there. So like move to a little better setup, but they make fantastic beer. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like our blind test.
Yeah,
blind taste the best beer.
Yes.
So the huge glaring like holes in this rumor is that 11 Below's brewing capacity is way too big for Fortress's space. It's just that doesn't work.
Make sense to me.
That doesn't work at all. So that was my first no. And the other one is like, yeah, B52's facility is like super cool. It's just nice, but there's also not nearly as much population. Whereas at Fortress, you're right in the middle of one of like the biggest suburbs in the Houston area. So a lot of those things like this doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
But I can't not share the things that I hear, right?
So obviously you're not a big fan of source validation.
Why would I want to do that, Drew? I just want to hear fun things.
Hot goss.
Speaking of just wild rumors and conspiracies, you should see this bird that was perched up on my back wall yesterday. It was a turkey vulture, and it was like the biggest bird I've ever seen. They're on to me, Drew. They're on to me.
Did it have like slightly mechanical movements when it was moving its neck? Or have they gotten better at that now?
I tell you what, the advancements with the advancements of AI, they've learned how to move. It's crazy.
All right. So you got your rankings, Ryan. I'm ready for mine. Are we gonna go down the line of like what our favorite beer was and then reveal what each of our favorite beers were? Is that the way we want to go?
I don't know. I feel like the right way to go is start last and work our way to first. So big reveal which one's the best.
So out of this group, my last one on here, I actually was getting some it almost tastes a little bit like off flavor more than the rest. This one stood out of the 5 beers. I really actually didn't like it as much. So I'm gonna reveal. I guessed it was PBR because I'd never really drank it, and it is it was actually the Miller. Wow. Ooh. Which is like my most drank beer out of this group, and I'm completely off. So my mind's already blown on round 1. Maybe I got a bad batch.
I chose the one that was off colored because it had a little bit of metallic-y taste and a kind of a syrupy finish. So as far as most of these were all super light, and it was really hard to tell the difference, but this one had like these off things. And I guess this one was the 8, just because, I had talked about it earlier. It was so far different than the rest of them, and I'm trying to get the sticker off the bottom, and it's not coming. It is the 8.
Oh, damn.
Got it. Wow. Okay, 1 for 1. I'm super happy about that.
Oh, wow. So Troy Aikman memes is what I'm hearing?
Yes, it's time. Well, to be fair, when I opened up this case and looked at the can, it was canned on October 13th, 2023. So it's 5 months old, almost 5.5 months old, which isn't as bad with these light lagers as it is for like an IPA, but still, it's not ideal, right?
So I can already see the meme. What happens first, the next Cowboys Super Bowl or Troy Aikman making a good beer?
Nice. Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I thought Miller Lite would place way higher than what I've got them here. So I'm drinking the can just to see if I accidentally screwed something up. But the blind taste is the ultimate decider. So I can't go against what science is telling me.
Yeah. What's your number 4?
My number 4 I guessed it was Coors, and it was actually Bud Light. So Miller and Bud at the bottom of the list for me.
Dang. The two that I said were my go-tos.
Yeah.
So my number 4, I guessed, was Coors. So what I did is I ranked the 8 last, and then the other one that tasted different than the other 3, I put it number 1. And then the other 3 that I said I couldn't really tell the difference, I kind of did my best guess, and that's my, that's the middle of my sandwich here. So this is my least favorite of the 3 that I think are Bud, Miller, and Coors, and I guessed Coors, and it is Bud Light. Dang. Okay, so we both had a Bud Light down there in the bottom.
Yeah. I'm drinking the cans side by side, a Bud Light and a Miller Lite. And I like the Miller Lite more, so I don't know how I failed in the. Maybe it's because I like the taste when you're drinking it out of a can. I don't know, or maybe now that I know what it is, it's biased.
Well, I think we have to go with that.
Yeah. All right, man, this is wild. So, what's your number 3, Ryan?
Number 3.
I'm on track to get 0 right. By the way,
I guessed it was Bud Light, which obviously is wrong. It is. Oh, it's Coors Light. So I got I got Bud and Coors just switched around, which actually bodes well for my last 2, since I think one is different than the other.
Oh man! All right. So I guessed my 3rd beer was Bud, and it is Coors. So I got the same thing you did. I swapped my Bud and Coors. So we're not, it just means that Bud and Coors are probably very similar beers when it comes down to it.
Yeah, I just realized I've been peeling off my stickers and setting the cups down. I need to get these straightened out.
I wonder if this is going to influence our purchasing decisions down the road. We'll see. And number 2, I thought it was the 8 beer because this is the one that I thought tasted the most different, but I was kind of into it. I know both of ours had a little bit different born on date, so I thought it tasted a little fresher, but it did have some weird flavors where it wasn't as muted as a American lager. So there were some off flavors, but I wasn't opposed to it. And I got it correct. It was the 8 beer. So I could identify it was different, but I actually liked it better than the other ones. And now I'm going to have to drink out of the can to validate if that was bad or not. So I gave Troy a little bit of redemption here with number 2.
There we go. I should have made one of my spreadsheets and averaged our answers together.
We both were able to identify the oddball.
Yeah, that's true.
It does. Like, I'm drinking the can right now, and it definitely has some very distinct different flavors to it. It's a little wangy compared to an American lager, but like I don't know. I kind of like it because it's just more flavor, even if it's wangy.
Yeah, fair enough. My number 2 was the last of the 3 that all tasted so similar, and I guess this one was Miller. Boom, correct. Miller Lite.
Man, you sir are doing all right here.
I am like, I wish I could say that I was just like picking them apart, but no, this was straight up luck.
Do you realize what just happened? Do you realize what beer is left for both of us as our number 1 beer?
Oh, hey. Yeah, what's up?
Pabst Blue Ribbon from 1844 is now the official number 1 beer for the macro beer competition. Maybe there's something to that whole hipster beer.
Everyone likes to dog on the hipsters, but they know what's up. Yeah, this was my number 1 based on exactly what you kind of said about the 8 beer. Is it just had like more flavor. It was still super light, but it actually had some like flavor going on.
Yeah, I really like this beer. And I'm drinking it in the can, and I realized drinking it side by side with a Bud Light, it's considerably better. And I'm not afraid to admit that it's pretty good.
Yeah, as it's warmed up, it drinks a little heavier than it did when we first started, but still good.
So do you think when I look at the ABV on all these beers, Miller, Bud, and Coors are all 4.2 beers. The 8 beer is pretty close to that. I don't remember what it was. But PBR is 4.74%. So it's got a little bit more ABV, closer to 5. Do you think that's enough to give it that extra flavor? Oh, so 8 beers, 4% ABV. So you've almost got an extra, you got a 0.5% on there. I don't know if that's enough.
Not for someone like me.
You're used to those Oklahoma 3-2 beers?
Yeah.
Speaking of Oklahoma, I did notice on the 8 beer that on the whole like spiel for Troy Aikman, he said like when he was in college, he was recommended by Barry Switzer to go work for a Miller distribution company. So he was driving beer trucks. And so that's how his connection to beer started. He was in Oklahoma as a Miller truck driver. I thought that was a kind of a cool story.
A cool story. When you get recommended a place to work by your coach, that means they're paying you way more than they should to go work there.
You need to show employment so that when you drive that sports car through Norman, Oklahoma, people don't ask questions.
Dude, that's so funny that's his story and how he got into beer.
Yeah. He really laid it on thick. And if you go to their website, he laid it on thick.
I will say, I had texted you this at the time, but I will say it here too. Whenever you go onto a brewery website and it says like find us, and like they have like a map on where to find your beer, and it's always like out of date, and like nothing shows up. It's just terrible. I actually looked it up on 8's website. They had a map. You'd click on it, and they would say it was like a map of a ton of places. It was up to date. I clicked on Total Wine, and it said 12-pack, 12-ounce cans. So they didn't just say where it was. They said exactly what they had in stock at that location. Very impressed because I've like never seen one that actually like worked, and this one did.
That is pretty impressive. Yeah, because those things are notoriously like trash.
Yeah, like who's going to sit there and update that all the time? But
yeah.
They do.
I am a little curious. So right now they only distribute in Texas for 8 beer. Both of us got beers that were really on the later side of production. So it seems like it's been a while since they produced beers because HEB used to sell it, but all the HEBs in the local area were out. So it makes me wonder, did they batch produce and they're not producing right now? And they're maybe just trying to redecide if they're going to keep this thing open, or is this like, are they in it to win it? I don't know. Haven't decided yet.
Yeah, I'm relatively confident this was a contract brew, and they just had some existing brewery brew this batch for them, and they were seeing how it got received before they decided what they were going to do. So
that makes sense.
We'll see if this comes back around.
I mean, it averaged out your last place and my second place, so it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, 3.5.
I mean,
math.
Like, why do they pick like Oregon State? Because I would think that would be a better place to like pair up if you're into like developing some edibles or something like that. I mean, I guess there's lots of hops up there too, though, right?
Yeah, there's tons of hops up there, but you'd think like one of the Paradigm brewer, I think part owner, teaches a brewing class at A&M. Like there's like closer around like brewing programs that you'd think they would have partnered with. So yeah, who knows what connections? Yeah, who knew who to like make that happen?
I'm doing the side by side Coors, Miller, and Bud Light because those are the big three that you usually have the option. And Bud falls at number 3 on that for me.
Yeah, I think I tried them all side by side, and yeah, Miller Lite is just, it's like the cleanest finish. It's nice and crisp and finishes clean, which is what they all advertise, but I think that one does it the best.
I feel ashamed because drinking them side by side in the can, I'm picking Miller, but I picked them last in my blind tasting. What does that say about me? I don't know. I screwed up.
You're a sucker for that retro can.
Coors ain't bad though. But PBR, man, the big winner for both of us.
Yeah, I'm gonna save that one for last. Enjoy that as my little victory nightcap.
We're just a couple of hipsters, Ryan.
I feel ashamed. I just shaved my beard. I shouldn't have. I'm buying in now.
Yeah. I'm going to go find the skinny jeans from the recesses of my closet and put them back on.
I will say, Drew, I have plenty of stock now for my patio fridge. I got pool beers,
Yes.
specifically 11 8 beers. That's not confusing at all.
I had to buy like 6-packs of all of these beers. So you know what I'm bringing to that crawfish boil. I'm going to be the guy that brings all the beer, just maybe a smorgasbord of macros and 8 beer.
Nice. Yeah, I need to just put these 8 beers on ice and just drink them ice cold.
Just like the Cowboys win streak.
The fact that we had that few digs at the Cowboys during this episode, I mean, I'm impressed with this, Drew. I think we're maturing.
Ryan, there was a death in our family recently. It was my 2012 Nissan Altima. It finally bit the dust after 235,000 miles. Rest in peace. So you're now talking to the proud owner of a truck. I'm a truck guy now, and I just want to announce that on Macro Beer Night that I'm a truck guy. But since I picked PBR as my favorite beer, the truck is actually a hybrid. So it checks out.
I mean, that was the outro.
Me, as the newfound truck guy, would like to just say that as much as I enjoy drinking craft beer, I do love me some blind tastings, and it is incredibly fun, regardless of what you do, to do a blind tasting. I'm now going to be a PBR patron. I've been converted, and I'd like to see what you have to say for yourself to close this episode out.
It is funny, some of the results of these blind tastings. Like, yes, we both picked PBR, so it's like, oh yeah, PBR actually is good. Same thing with like Fat Tire. We're like, oh, the new Fat Tire, like, yeah, like that's actually really good. We're gonna start like drinking that. So it's like it's funny the things you discover when you do blind tasting. So totally with you there. Looking at all these beers, doing this blind tasting, and this feels very correlated to life in general. When you get a whole division, which this division would be the domestic light beers, you just put together a whole bunch of mediocre beers, and the Cowboy beers still finishes last place in that division. So,
Sick burn. Guess we will see y'all next time. This has been a Beering Ain't Easy production out of Houston, Texas. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook, or at our website at crossthestreamsmedia.com, where you can find our podcast and all the other great sister podcasts on our network.
This has been a Cross the Streams Media Podcast.
One thing you need to do, I noticed there's a new feature on here. Click the settings button in Streamcast and click the button that says touch up my appearance. Come back onto the screen. It's like we just got some Botox. My 40-year-old wrinkles are gone, and I kind of look like Kim Kardashian. And
I look like a cartoon character.
it's like a Snapchat filter. I think we should have done the whole podcast like this. This is great.
It's so ridiculously. I look like an '80s music video.
You just got rickrolled, bitch. My mustache looks like really, really dark in this filter.
It does. It looks like you died. Like you died one spot, and then it's just gray up the sides.
Oh yeah, this is good. Yeah, next podcast we're going to be doing this full time. Yeah, Ryan, it's getting kind of late. Just like the Cowboys quarterbacks, I'm going to hit the sack.